so like whatever you think people say ratings, they don't really matter so much anymore. That might well be true, but the metrics are not good in any way, shape, or form. Right? I mean, that's really the bottom line. The metrics are really, really, really bad in many, 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 many ways. Not least this. What's this story that I was just past? This is from Gallifrey Base, and you would never find me on Gallifrey Base. Thank God I don't have to darken those halls anymore. I mean, like, the only place more toxic than Twitter, Gallifrey Base. But apparently, Al Dewa, whatever his name is, he was talking on Gallifrey Base, and he's saying there's not going to be any more generally available action figures, right? They destroy the action figure movement. So he was on Gallifrey Base. He said they will not be getting a retail wave of figures in 2025. So we're not getting any of the characters from. Well, you didn't get any of the characters from season 1 either, did you? Right? All that merchandising that was planned just vanished. No Meet the Beep or any like. I'm trying to think who would have been a memorable action figure. I can't even think. Well, you got David Tennant, fine. Well, okay, you should have got the what's his name, the toy maker at the very least. I don't think you can toy maker and Beat the Meat, right? You should have got those. Then you got Space Babies. No, don't do an action figure of any of those. Not the Snot Monster. God, that was such a bad idea. What came after Space Babies? God, it's also shit. So hard to remember. Sutek can be too big to do a toy of. Mel might have worked because you can get the traditional, you can get the classic people to buy it, but probably not. There weren't. I can't think of any real monsters. Can you? What's the second story? Oh God! Oh yeah, no, it was Jinx Monsoon or whatever. Was it? Yeah, Jinx Monsoon. I'm surprised there could have been an action figure of them, whatever they're fucking called. But yeah, no, there's no action figures from the current era because no one's fucking interested in buying action figures, right? So there's no retail 125. If you mean retail, sadly, no. We've likely seen the last of those, which means there's nothing on the drawing board, right? This show, I will be amazed if it continues, right? And if it continues, we're not seeing anything more till 2027. But I will be amazed if it continues. And every indication is it's not. There's no planning on merchandise going on right now for the future. For Modern Who. Classic, yeah. It will be the character options online exclusive and B&M only. No figure waves. Those days are long behind us, I'm afraid. Right? It can't sell action figures anymore. Right? That's really bad. That's a really bad metric. I don't know what to tell you. And the metrics general, look, to me, they're understandably bad. Right? Because, I don't know. To me, it felt like the to me, it felt like this episode just didn't like white working class people, right? Which I think is a general messaging from the government right now, right? And I think that's really why it's in the shit, right? In the shit. Anyway. Look, the fundamental question to ask, which Dan asked on his channel, I think on Saturday night, which I watched. That's one of my first go-to things to watch was, did you enjoy it, right? And he did, right? He did. Man, he got some shit for that. It's okay to enjoy it, right? It's okay to enjoy it. Anyway, I didn't, right? And we've been having I would say somewhat of a fascinating conversation about it. And here it is to represent himself is the light shining out amongst the rest of Birmingham. From all the bags of shit, there is one that lives and that floats above the rest. It is, of course, Dan Hadley, King of the Geeks. How are you from Third World Birmingham?
Yes, I think that I might have disposed of myself in a green bag or a black bag or a grey bag.
I think that's certainly the way to go.
I'm glad you've just said that, mate, because you left me a voicemail saying you'd come on the channel and have that discussion, about what we were talking about, and I thought, what the fuck we were talking about? I can't remember.
Okay, so your basic point was, and again, I think it's the absolute right place to start with any review. Did you enjoy it? Right? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, yes.
And there is a lot that is genuinely enjoyable in what's the episode? The Robot Revolution. I like the design. I wish they explained it, right? I think that design would have worked a lot better.
Nice.
if they explain why everything looks like Tonka toys, but it looked cool.
They'd rather have spent that screen time dicking around with sort of swooshing and jumping and trippy stuff. It's
look, the trippy stuff kind of reminded me a little bit of the teleportation scene from Dalek Master Plan. Do you remember they teleport to Kemble and it's just weird? They're like on a trampoline in space. It's just so strange, right?
I love all that stuff, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, me too. So, I thought of Rada Sisu. Yeah, excellent casting. Very easy on the eye. Bit Mardy, as you would say. Like,
Mardy, ticks all my boxes. It's been off the trouble why I've chosen the women that I have, I think.
Now, I'm hoping, and I might be wrong, there's a season arc where she lightens up, like where she relaxes a little bit and realizes that not everything is awful all the time, right? That would certainly make me happier, right?
Well, all of Russell's characters before, with the exception of Ruby, I think, have progressed. They've only got 7.
Ruby, they didn't get a chance to progress because they fired her in the middle of her arc. Essentially,
these things happen.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, there's two things that really marred this. Made it impossible for me to enjoy. The first thing, I first picked this up, I think, in the very first scene. It was very clunky. Well, to me, it seemed clunky, right? Anti-white male propaganda, right? Where you had the guy at the beginning and he's not able to cop off with her, and he's just a bit of a farty, right? And I'm like, obviously that's a white bloke. So generally speaking, I think the messaging we've been given from the Starmer government since last summer is that white working class people are dangerous, they're evil, and they're violent. There's a lot more violence on the street of England now than there was 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, they're happy for those people, for that group of people to stay in work and to work longer hours, to pay more tax and to do all of those things. But also happy to throw them in jail as well for a mean tweet. Apparently, 30 people a day are being arrested over social media posts in England. And rising.
It's horrific, right? It's horrific. But anyway, I think the official messaging of the our betters, people who think of themselves as our betters, is blame white people to distract from this is a result of the failure of multiculturalism, right? That's essentially what's going on. And I felt
largely, and the characters like Russell T Davies, he was a man in his early 60s. He was fine when he was, and some people found the gay agenda ferociously.
No, I think he got the balance just right. I think
mate, he is of that world. So if he's not qualified to tell those stories, then who is? I think he told them well and inconspicuously, appropriately. Yes. Now he's telling stories about things that you can tell he doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. He doesn't really know anything about any of
this. Years and years of this went on to Netflix, apparently. But yeah, years and years is what broke. Look, Trump and Brexit broke all these lovies, and it just broke them and kept breaking them, and it keeps breaking them. All right. So I picked up. I was like, this is the one the mess I left you. Like when I was a kid. Oh, I'm totally frozen. There you go. When I was a kid, we went on a team tour to Israel, right? With a school. It was a Jewish school. And we went to the Propaganda Institute. We spent a day there, or like half a day there. Brilliant. I remember everything clearly. It gives you a grounding in propaganda from the 1940s, like Nazi propaganda, right through to then it was like the.
If you're asking me, do I accept that that Russell T Davies and the BBC are propagandizing pretty much all of their output, including Doctor Who, despite it being for a family demographic. I don't argue that for a moment.
No. I wasn't asking you that at all. No. I was saying because of that, I've developed this insane sensitivity that I pick up on these things, and I try the other day.
I don't. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
But the other danger is you go the other way and you call everything woke when it really isn't. An example, right? I watched The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1, and I wanted to hate it. I want to go, this is shit, solid TV. I just like, it was a bit of a weird lesbian subplot in the last 5 minutes, but like, it's just solid, good TV, right? So yeah, I don't think I am just like knee-jerk. I don't think you are. I don't think you are. I don't think you are either. I mean, I have seen takes that are reactionary and as goofy as fuck about all. I mean, there was they're the new those robots are going to be the new Daleks and all this. Those people have stopped saying that now, haven't they? Nobody remembers that. I think I was the only person that was saying that. No, of course they're not the Daleks. Right.
So all these goofy ideas, they tend to sort of evaporate into thin air within seconds. And when that episode started, from the initial scenes, there were several moments throughout it, including in that proposal scene with the boyfriend, which I didn't understand why certain lines were there. But this being Russell T Davies' Doctor Who, this being modern Doctor Who, it moves quite quickly. So you never hang around on it for too long. I mean, when he said to her, "Are you married?" When he's about to propose to her, "Are you married?" Why? You've proposed to a woman. I've proposed to several women.
He didn't say that then. What? He said the proposal scene was towards the end.
No, he asks her. But he asks her during the proposal.
Are you married? Before gets the certificate. He gives us why is it Miss Belinda Chandra? Can't it just be Belinda Chandra? Says, "Are you married?" The whole engagement thing was much later.
Oh, no, what I'm talking about is the phrasing of certain things.
Yeah.
The phrasing of certain things was uncharacteristically clunky for a Russell T Davies script. He's great at building characters, and he's usually fantastic at dialogue. So when he does do things that are inconspicuous and that aren't smooth, you do notice them. But because the story moves quite quickly, and because I was quite wrapped up in the characters, I didn't hang around and think about it. I certainly didn't sit there with a notepad. And I do feel that there's a degree, there's a large proportion of the dedicated fan base now, particularly on this side of the aisle, who aren't watching this with any generosity left in their hearts for it, with no love for it, and are largely sitting making notes for when they're going to rant about it later. And please don't take this personally, anybody. Hate the game, not the players. This section of the fan base have been taken there to this place against their will.
That's true. That's true. Look, everybody wants to enjoy it.
Now, sometimes I fall into that camp as well. But for some reason, the way that Russell writes this show, I've always responded to it, and I still respond to it now. I fucking loved Space Babies. I didn't see any political, ideological aspects to that at all. So if you remember, I came online, came to talk to you, and it was about refugees, it was about this, it was about that. I just got completely swept up in the fun of it, and the colour of it, and the energy of it, and the purity of the characters, and the silliness of the jokes, and I thought it was wonderful. So, and it's largely a similar thing here. Obviously, this was considerably more on the nose, and to deny that they were trying to make a statement by it, that would be silly. Of course, I know they're trying to make a statement by it, but this was done in a subtler way, subtle enough certainly that it's not that I didn't see it coming. I've been called every name under the sun for this. I got swept up in what I'm supposed to be swept up in. It's an adventure series. I took it at face value, minute for minute. Am I enjoying this or not? And to be honest, if I am not willing to submit to the television that I'm watching, to be taken off on this journey, with Doctor Who, in the spirit of adventure, or with a comedy, it's being willing to be entertained and being willing to have a laugh. I don't sit down, for example, and put on a sitcom. If I'm feeling miserable, do you put on a sitcom to cheer yourself up? I tend not to. I tend to sort of languish in that, and I'll watch a comedy when I'm feeling a bit better. And it's
you want to relax into something that's soothing.
Because I'm not in a good mood. I'm not in a good mood. I'm not going to find it funny. If you're not, and I think it's similar with, particularly with Russell's version of Doctor Who. If you're not feeling if you're not feeling it, you're not in that place, then it's going to work. It's going to be harder work. And
okay, so
there's a lot of prejudice towards this production, and yes. I understand why. I feel it too. But for some reason, for the most part, when those credits start or when it goes into the episode, when it's working, I get swept away by it. I got swept away completely by Dot and Bubble last year. For 43 minutes, thought it was wonderful, which is why when it did hit you right round the back of the head with that baseball bat agenda, right. I jolted out of that immediately because, again, I'd been carried along with it. And I was... and what did I get for my trouble?
That's the trouble. Okay, you remember?
But my final point is that even though that show and Dot and Bubble did that to me, it was my choice whether I be there or not the following week. I chose to be there the following week. I found it a lot harder during the Jodie Whittaker era because I wasn't enjoying any component part of it. The way Chris Chibnall writes that show was not remotely to my tastes. In my view, he couldn't build characters that I recognised. The stories were dull. His casting choices were inexplicable, and therefore none of it was. The only reason I carried on watching that show was because I had not long started the podcast. I was committed to talking about it. Otherwise, I would have almost certainly have bailed on it. But there's lots of other shows that aren't Doctor Who that I do bail on. I would, again, personally, I'm only talking about me. This is no judgment on anybody else. I can't sit there and watch these shows with my arms folded, making notes about the things that piss me off. If I feel
honestly, I never make notes about anything ever.
I'm not saying you do, but there are people who do.
You can see there's a lot that go. To me, what's derailing this is two major problems. Yeah, the wokeness and that woke agenda, the white hatred agenda, right? But that's the lesson. The thing that really is the needle being pulled off the record is Shooting Gatwa. That's what happened in the episode last night, right? He turns up. The minute he turned, I thought it was kind of like, okay, fine, I could get over the clearly, the loser guy scene. I'm like, fine, whatever. And then, she seemed to have a bit of a miserable life, whatever her name was, Belinda. But fine again. As soon as he shows up, mincing through a hospital in a fucking dress, I'm like, oh, fuck. That's one of the first times I shouted, oh, fuck off at the screen, right? He doesn't do anything for me as a doctor.
It doesn't embody the character. It doesn't embody the character at all. It just looks like some dickhead who's wandered in off the streets.
Right, and so for me, that's like being kicked in the balls, right? And it doesn't matter how good the rest of the episode is.
Well, Rabbi, every time she wasn't on screen, it lost a lot of. It lost some of its draw for me. And it's not just the fact that she's hot; it's the fact that she does seem to be embodying that character. And because it was there wasn't a big cast to it. There wasn't a sort of a third wheel to go to. It really was pretty much just those two. And so it's like on the old Next Generations, for example, or Voyager, where they'd have an A plot and a B plot.
Right.
I kind of wanted to be with her because even though I'd never met this character before, and I've been watching The Doctor for 50 years.
So now you're at problem number 3.
She was recognisable and he wasn't, partly visually and partly because of the characterisation that she got.
Now you're at problem number 3. That it's the Belinda Chandra. She was the central character. Right, and it revolved around. She was the most moral character. She's probably the most moral character I've seen in Doctor Who in a long time. I think since Donna Noble, when she first came on the TARDIS, the Pompeii one, right, and when she had her function was to add in genuine morality into that mix, and it worked very well. So and I like that she takes personal responsibility. Yeah, she's a genuinely moral character, which I kind of like that. But a lot of things she complains about, she then turns around and does. She talks about coercive control. That's what she's doing that all the time to everybody all around her. But anyway, I'm that much I can forgive. But
Because those are Russell T Davies characters. Those are Marcus. These are how you know you're watching something that's been written by somebody who knows how to build characters. They're not afraid to give these characters flaws and to give these characters inconsistencies. Because real people have those, and that's all through Russell T Davies material, not just his Doctor Who stuff. Everything else he's ever done. What's his name? Jimmy McGovern stuff's always like that. Paul Abbott stuff is always like that. And I know they write different kinds of stuff, but they are contemporaries of one another. What's her name? Sally Wainwright. Exactly the same stuff. All that crop of writers are all capable of doing this, and it's the everybody that's come up since. I think actually Gareth Roberts is pretty good at that, and so is to a lesser extent Toby Whithouse and people outside of geekdom
do this as well. I've seen them actually being quite competent with that, the AP structure, right? Yeah. And Pete McTeague is who should be really show running Doctor Who right now, I think. They should have given it to him. They should have had Russell on board as a consultant, as an exec. They should have given this to Pete McTighe from the get-go. They'd been working with him on a Discovery of Witches. He was hot right then. He just closed on Wentworth after all those years. Right. They should have given it to him years ago, because all this time he's sort of treading water while a succession of idiots. Tired creatives are running into the ground to the point where you'd have to be a friggin' Doctor Strange to bring it back from the dead. Never mind the Doctor Who. I mean, again, I've always said you have to. The only thing you can do right now is reboot, right? I think reboot and then decanonize everything after Capaldi. There's ways you can do it. Anyway, but okay. So that's the third problem is she's the main character. Right, it revolves around her. Fourth problem is he's shit. Not as shit at playing the Doctor. His character it fits in the exact mold. Can I point out? Yeah. Sorry to keep interrupting. The Robot Revolution doesn't revolve any more around Belinda than Smith and Jones does around Martha, or Partners in Crime around Donna. Wait. Let me think. Let me think for a second. No, I disagree. I'll tell you exactly why I disagree. Because in Smith and Jones and all the what's the end? I think if you looked at those and looked at the runtime, the adipose one. What was that one? Partners in Crime. Partners in Crime, right? They did the plot revolved around them, but the moral and the structural center of those stories was the Doctor. He was peripheral to this. He was kind of peripheral to everything going on. He turns up, he's looking for her, but we don't really know why. The thing is, Russell keeps playing a bit of a long game, and he doesn't have time for that. Because I'm afraid he doesn't have the time, and he doesn't have the, I don't want to use the word talent. He doesn't have the eye for that kind of storytelling in the way that Stephen Moffat does. He's not able to. He just can't tell those sorts of stories anywhere near convincingly. He's great with stuff like Midnight, which is really confined. He can do scary, but he can't do that timey-wimey. Even Stephen Moffat can't do that timey-wimey stuff anymore. George of the World was a fucking mess. So, and Russell's just well out of his depth doing it, because I'm not convinced that he really understands how it works. And there was lots of that. He does make it up as he goes along, right? He does. But again, okay, so. That was the third problem. The fourth problem is the general Holdo principle, right? Where he's been with this resistance for 6 months against an AI, right, and robots. Excuse me, every other Doctor would have taken care of this in a night. Capaldi would have done it while he's walking around the console room having a cup of tea, glowering in his in the viewers. Well, we come up against the same problem as the other stuff with this. There's not enough time. They don't spend enough time to show us why he's living amongst them for 6 months. Anything about the culture at all? It's clearly a decision he's made to live among them, to sort of fight their way, and to bide his time for whatever reason to get to know those people. Yeah, it's brought in and it's kind of pushed aside when Belinda when he and Belinda get put together. Then because of course that's what we're waiting for the Doctor to meet his new companion. But because the story hasn't been, he literally gets the entire revolution destroyed. Right, he gets everybody killed in that. They get all Revolution people in that initial meeting, and they all get killed apart from 3 people, and then they get killed a bit later. Right, He's absolutely shit. He is Jodie level shit. He is. I'm like, why are you writing him so incredibly incompetently? Right? And again, why is Belinda making the decisions? Right? Like that. Oh, great example.
Hang on a minute. See, this is why Russell shouldn't put this stuff in there, because it's. I've only watched this once, and it was on Saturday, just before I was. People don't realise I literally watched that, and within 15 minutes, I was live on YouTube talking about it. So I had no time to scribble notes down or to do this or to do that, and I haven't watched it since. But the stuff with the 6 months, this is the problem with this whole timey-wimey thing that Russell's done. He knows that he's been looking for her. It's in a linear way, isn't he? So he was at her house, then he gets swept up in this. He's on the planet. Oh, she's not here for another 6 months. So he can't end everything in a night because he's got to wait for her to get there. He doesn't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to get everybody.
I'm going to have to watch this again. There are people who didn't enjoy this that have watched this 2 or 3 times, and I've only had the time to watch it once.
I hear. I didn't take notes, but I did use the video file to do like screen grabs for the whole thing, which is how I got to know it pretty well. But the why is he so shit? I don't understand. He's been miscast. He's been miscast, and for the most part, he's been given shapeless material that's not helping him at all. I'm saying, why is the character being written as so useless? Right, and that's a real problem for me. The trouble is this, we go back to the woke thing again. Why is there woke? What's wrong with woke casting? Is because once you cast somebody based on their identity, they then all they have to do is be that identity, right? And I think this is why they haven't really set him up as a doctor. Like, he's had no "I am the Doctor" moment, and they had the same mistake with the Anthony Mackie Captain America, where they came in expecting you to go, "Oh, it's Captain America, only he's black now. Yay, he must be great." No, there was no setup for that character, so you have no connection to him, right? And the Doctor is just this character of it is undermined by writing him to be very weak. He's unable to, get home or actualize it. And on top of that, the ball crunching cringe, the high kick Yaz Queen, right? That destroys the entire episode. Much in the same way, Dragonfire, right? Kane's face dissolving kind of saves that whole thing. The high kick Yaz Queen destroys the whole thing, right? That's like, I can't look away from and go, "Oh, I'm pretending that didn't happen." Well,
it's in moments like that it totally sort of breaks the bubble, really, because you feel like you're watching. You might as well be watching. Or take your pick: the Victoria Wood, Lenny Henry, Grumbleweeds, Lily Savage, all those people who've done Doctor Who skits. And they've played Doctor Who as them, like Lily Savage playing Doctor Who. She'll turn to the camera, break the fourth wall, and do her hair and make some catty comment about the neighbours. It works because it's a parody. You can't do that stuff in the actual show without turning the show into a parody. And so stuff like that high kick is incredibly misjudged.
Do you remember the high kick scene, or do you erase that from your memory?
Well, that was towards the end of the episode. So I was paying, in all fairness, I was paying more attention to what they were saying, and I was kind of watching the clock.
What was it?
Because I knew I'd got to come.
This is the second time I showed it tonight. Let me pull up that scene for you. Yeah, 1 second.
So I did see it. I didn't find it at the time. I didn't find it grossly offensive, but I was listening. But it's like, oh really? It was one of those things. Oh really?
It was so good. It was more than "oh really" for me. Yeah, it was just, and it's very quick, right? It's super quick.
That's why that's the momentum of this means that sometimes I notice these things, sometimes I don't. Sometimes they're a big deal to me, sometimes they're not.
Oh, Bell, baby!
I'm about a minute out. Hang on.
Not Yas Queen!
I do like. You know what? As annoying as that is.
Well, I'll show you again.
Not Yas Queen!
Look, I think people look, if that's really upsetting people, I get it. It's very, very irritating, but it's a split second. I heard him say when I watched it on Saturday. When I watched it on Saturday, I heard him say "Yes, Queen," but I must have turned away, or it happens that quickly, not noticed.
I wish I did.
I didn't pay a huge amount. It's certainly not going to break the episode for me, but he shouldn't be permitted to do that sort of stuff. Things like that aren't a deal breaker for me.
Again, as Problem Being says here, it's not Doctor Who. Like, to
no,
me,
it's a parody. It's a parody of Doctor Who. It's Lily Savage asking the Daleks if they've done the ironing. It's
like what's the name when you had the Dalek in the Spike Milligan sketch? Put it in the curry and you shoot the had a Pakistani Dalek, I think. Was that it? I can't remember.
You can't bend the character that far out of shape and expect it to sort of simply snap back.
But honestly, I think I think the reason this gets roughly the same, this doesn't get worse ratings than EastEnders, is EastEnders is on a lot more, and people know it's really awful. Doctor Who's only on 8 weeks a year now. So people like
that's the issue with the ratings, really, isn't it? Because on the surface, and again, I think I saw him in the chat earlier on. David Milling really represented the ratings beautifully on our show the other night. Thank you, David.
Oh, he did. Right, yeah. In fact, I think this somebody made this infographic. I'm sure it's from your show, right?
But no, I would never use colours like that. That's wrong.
No. But, I think somebody else made this infographic from listening to your show. I think because it really nails it well. That Doctor Who gets a 17.4, got a 17.4% audience share, which to me sounds pretty good. I'll be frank. Like, if I'm getting 17.4% of the audience, I think I'm doing pretty well. But apparently, it used to get between 30 and 40% when it over 40% when it was really doing well.
Well, the worst thing is, I would say that there is a huge crossover of audience between Gladiators and Doctor Who. Huge. And the idea that 8% of that crossover audience decided not to carry on watching BBC One that evening, that should worry them. That should worry them more than the 2 million. Because
that's a good point.
2 million sounds crushingly low. And it's very difficult for fans of our vintage to see it sink to numbers like that and not be completely not to blow our circuitry. The times are changing so quickly, though.
Right. This is what I left you a message about earlier today. Right. I was watching the show Succession, which is all about essentially Rupert Murdoch. So they rename them, but they have this news conglomerate, and it's from like 2-3 years ago, and it's out of date. Like you forget how much and how quickly that's fallen, which is a lot.
The nearest I can think of to it, the way because if you do see BBC advertisements anywhere in Britain now, and I don't see that many of them. I haven't seen any for Doctor Who this year, but when you do see them for various shows, comedies, dramas, or their coverage of whatever it is they've got, a royal wedding, a jubilee, or something, or the Olympics. It never says coming soon to BBC One or the BBC One or BBC Two Colours. It just says iPlayer. And the nearest thing, it's unprecedented, this revolution now, and it's getting faster by the year. And I was trying to think if I ever seen anything like it before. And the nearest I could come up with was the I'm not arguing that people. Again, people in the live chat lose their temper with me, putting words in my mouth. The nearest approximation I can think of is that when BBC Radio 1 went over from medium wave to FM, and they carried on broadcasting on the frequencies at the same time. But obviously they wanted people to get over onto FM. Right. So all of the jingles, all the advertisements, it was 1FM, absolutely everywhere. But they kept medium wave going for a really, really long time. But understandably, the figures they were interested in was farming people over to FM, watching those figures go up, they probably weren't watching the medium wave figures go down. Somebody was, because it is of value, because it was still costing them to broadcast it on that equipment. But gradually, as one was moving up, the other was moving down, and it's a perfectly natural chain of events. That's the nearest approximation I can think of, following broadcasting for 30, 40 years, to what is presently happening now. So the more iPlayer goes up, of course, the broadcast is going to go down. So the gap is going to be...
In this case, for Doctor Who, the iPlayer is not going up either.
We haven't seen that. They've not published the figures yet, mate. The Christmas figures...
I'll be amazed.
The Christmas figures did go up a lot. I can't quite remember what the figures were like for the last season, but the ones at Christmas did go quite a lot.
Christmas, because Normans go, what's on?
Probably. But what I'm saying is the principle. This is the principle I'm talking about. Not even specific to one show. Talking about the landscape out there, but bringing it back to Doctor Who. What really hit me, to the point, and it was only after the live stream last night, was I sat down, I sat back and I sort of reflected on the conversation that I had, which I always do, and answer a few messages and things like that. And I went and watched Lee's in the live chat as well. Hi, Lee. So I went and listened to Lee and Noel talking about it, a fabulous conversation on the TARDIS side. So I went and listened to that. And but as I was doing all these things, what struck me was I just had a conversation. I've been part of a panel of 5 Doctor Who fans, and we've all loved it. Various different ages. There was one person in their 20s, one in their 30s, one in their 40s, and a couple in their 50s.
Gary hated it. Gary hated it.
No, this was on Monday night show.
On Monday's one. Okay,
so that panel of 5 from last night, I realised that out of all of us, none of us, even though we're all big Doctor Who fans and have all grown up with it despite our difference in ages, none of us watched it on BBC One that night. We all watched it via the iPlayer, and the one of us who'd watched it multiple times on the iPlayer. So none of our views of 5 people are going to count towards that 2 million. Are we? Of course, we are fans.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
But is that reflective? But is that being reflective though in the general population as well?
No, the overnights include the iPlayer numbers, I believe.
Apparently, that's what I thought. Apparently, they don't. I was corrected. I was corrected about this. About a day and a half ago, because I went and claimed that, and I had to apologise. They don't.
I'm not going to apologize. If I'm wrong, I don't give a shit. I'm not apologising. I'm right about so much shit. I can be wrong every now and again.
I thought that too, and somebody proved me wrong. So no, they don't count.
That's fine. But again, I don't think it's going up on iPlayer. I don't think it's going up. I don't think people are interested in watching it. Right? And
I have no idea how the iPlayer figures are going to. No idea at all. Really, I didn't really know. I suspected the figure for Saturdays would be down on last year, but I didn't think it would be a 500,000 down.
I was pretty much spot on. Right? Hang on one second. Yeah, well, I'm looking at here.
I mean, Lee's saying in the live chat they do, but I was told categorically they don't. What can I say? I was told what I was told.
Again, look, you have to pay like $1,000 a month or something to get those professional stats, which I don't. But yeah, look, if you look here, it got 4.1 million live overnight, and then it gets goes up to, so it got a 1.8 bump. That's the highest bump it got, and that's only because it was Christmas. Normally it's not above 1.5. So 2.25 goes up to, look at that. It's 1.
I'd be interested to know what Paul Seeley in the live chat thinks it is that I'm trying to defend. The rabbis ask me questions. I'm answering them honestly, Paul. People get so friggin' shirty.
No, the reason they were getting pissed off is because they feel that you're.
I'm going to turn the comments off.
No, absolutely no. But I think look, this is the thing. When somebody disagrees with your taste on something, you deny their reality to a certain extent. I deny this reality, right? You are so like for me, which I saw what this objectionable propaganda, a mincing faggy doctor wearing a fucking dress who's absolutely useless.
I'm not denying any of this. I'm not defending any of this. The simple question was, did you enjoy it? And yes, I did.
Exactly. Like
sorry, Paul.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry.
We both saw the same thing. You can overlook it, which is I don't know. That's not a bad thing, right? That's normal. It's okay that you overlook it. But like,
there were various points. You know, I love the original Russell T Davies run, but if I'm honest, pretty much every week there was always a line or a moment, or sometimes even a character where I'd think, "Oh God," and I'd roll my eyes, and I'd carry on watching, and it would never spoil it for me. But I'd go to the pub and talk about it with my friends, or I'd meet up with a set of other fans, and they would talk about the gay agenda or this or that or the other. And sometimes they have a big discussion about it, but we'd all be there watching the following one.
In the show wasn't about I hate you and everything that you believe in because you're different from me. Right, it was that they balanced it perfectly well. Right now, again, it's not about inclusion; it's about a hatred of those who are not included. Right?
It's, as I said before, it's because Russell is now telling stories about things that he doesn't understand, whereas in the noughties, he's telling stories about things and about people that he knew and did understand. That's why he probably knows. That's why Belinda seems so much better than a lot of the characters that he's offered us lately, because he almost certainly knows somebody. Just it's probably his niece is a nurse or something, or the characters that sing, and there's very, very few of them in this. I mean, I think the nearest I've had to a character that I've liked was Shirley Bingham, the girl in the wheelchair. But I wouldn't rave. But at least she felt kind of real.
No, at least it wasn't Jeffrey Rush. That paid in the fucking like everything. There's nothing I can point at. They go, oh, well, that's a good creative decision. No, it's all shit. Everything about this here has been. Oh, Charlotte's in the chat. Charlotte, you should know I'm always so complimentary about your commentary, right? And I do like it. But yeah, again, it was just. Who was it? Was doing the ratings on your show? David, right? His point was that he feels that it's these epically low ratings, which they are, while not being as important as they were three years ago or even 2 years ago, right? Is a barometer to how it's feeling. Apparently, was it Al Dewa was on Gallifrey Base, which you would never find me on. And he was saying there's going to be no retail figure waves, right? Everything is going to be. I'm
amazed it's taken this long. I can never find the fuckers anyway.
Right,
it doesn't make no difference to me.
Or B&O exclusive, which means they're going to be solely classic. Is my guess. That there's no bigger sign than that, right? I'm sure there is bigger sign.
They're still going to be. Hang on, so they're still putting classic figures into B&M, just not new ones.
He didn't say that. That was the vibe I got from what he said. I don't think we're going to get any contemporary figures again. Who are you going to get? Like I was just thinking, from the first season, who could you get? The Jinx Monsoon? I mean, like literally, like who you could have got from the specials. You could have got the Toy Maker and Meet the Beat. Right, and then you got Jinx Monsoon, and then there's nobody else in the whole season. Maybe do a figure of Mel. There's like who's going to buy a figure of a 6-year-old woman?
Well,
right?
I mean, some of the figures they put out when they started the original figure range with Russell's first run were also a bit shit. It took them a while to get into the spring in their step.
Don't use the space baby. I love
but because they had it sort of, they could bolster it with Slovenes and things like that. It more than worked.
They had monsters, and I will say that I think the monster this week looks like it's not a monster; it's a villain. We've had villains this era. We haven't had monsters that I can think.
I can tell you that the BBC Worldwide, BBC Studios have put up the prices of a lot of the licenses as well for this stuff, because
Who's paying for these licenses? That's great.
No one. That's the thing. There's, Big Finish are locked into their deal until 2029, 2030, something like that.
Yeah, not the best of news given how they've been doing, but okay.
They put their prices up at a time where the brand had been heavily devalued.
I listened to the first episode of their new Fifth Doctor epic Hook, and it just didn't grab me at all. I can't convince myself to somebody gave it to me to listen to free. Just no. And whenever somebody does that, I normally buy it if I think it's good. Like the Susan's War one, I thought was ended up being very good, but so I ended up buying it. But it hasn't hit with me at all. Don't know why. Really don't know why. It wasn't bad. It feels like a story in a Doctor Who annual. It feels like something that's so super unnecessary, right? And maybe it's because the central franchise is on its arse, right? And the central franchise it is on its arse because it's so concerned about what goes in your arse, right? You've really got to remove sexuality from Doctor Who, right? It's got to be somewhat innocent, I think.
Well, I believe that, broadly speaking, the major problem that Doctor Who's got, and bear in mind, Doctor Who has given Britain's Got Talent a proper hiding over the years, and the reason why it's going to get destroyed by it this year, it's oh yeah.
Really? I didn't think it was as strong as it used to be. Britain's Got Talent.
It isn't, but it's doing better than Doctor Who. The game, it doesn't matter. They could screen the best 7 episodes of Doctor Who ever over the next few weeks, and it doesn't matter a jot. And I believe part of it is fatigue and the fact that it's a calcified brand. But for the most part, my instinct is telling me that adults won't vouch for this show anymore. They won't put their children down in front of it. They won't encourage their children to watch it, to pursue an interest in it, and they don't view it as something that is conducive to family collective viewing, whereas Britain's Got Talent is. I'm not saying that they won't let their children watch it. They may want to take a look at it first before their kids see it. But I know at least 2 families who do that, or did do that. Sorry, last year. For all I know, they've given up now. I haven't spoken to them.
Yeah, I would never be watching this with my grandkids. Right? I just and they wouldn't be interested anyway. And
that's the problem that they've got. I mean, for the most part, I'm not arguing with a lot of your criticisms about Saturday's show, but I did see a Doctor Who that was a little more certain, actually a lot more certain of its identity, and sort of bringing Doctor Who to the screen in a way which is outwardly recognisable to a great deal of people. But the fact is that they've allowed Russell to decide who the show's for by pretty much by default.
That's interesting because this is a genuine survey from the audience, the current audience of Doctor Who. So check this out, and you'll get to see who these people are.
They're queer, trans, mask, and queer.
What's trans mask?
Trans mask is people under the non-binary umbrella identifying or presenting mask.
Masculine?
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm trans and my sexuality is unlabeled.
Yeah, this is who it's made for. These 2 people. That's it. It's just these 2 people. It's down to them now. I'm so enough already. And actually, I do have another exclusive clip of Rusty Davis, how Shooty Gut was cast. Right, I've wanted to get this for a while. Right, check this out.
Casting director, yes, it's Russell T Davies here, executive producer of Doctor Who. I've had a look at the headshots you sent me. They're all absolutely marvellous. But I had some thoughts. I thought for episode 1, you see on page 1, there's a very, very sexy man. Yes, I thought we could cast him in episode 1. For episode 2, there's another sexy man on page 2 I thought we could have a look at. For number 3, there's a sexy man that I'm sure we could fit in somewhere. I'm sure I could fit him in somewhere anyway. And finally, I was talking to a twink last night on Grindr, and I may have promised him he could be the next Doctor.
So that's how it happened, baby. That's how it happened. That's where we are with this Doctor Who. I mean, there's so many. Again, that you were carried away with, and it's great. I mean, and I think a lot of people, also were right? But I don't know.
I'm not being a hypocrite about this. I've always said I like Russell T Davies' writing. It's just to my taste. I like the way that he thinks in a very visual way. It's always worked for me.
I think it's somewhat of Stockholm syndrome after, like, like the people who got out the Hamas tunnels after after 500 days. They still like to sleep on the floor in tunnels, right? It takes some time to deprogram. I think after the shit show we had for 7 years of unwatchable Doctor Who, something that has bits in it you can squint and you can blink and it's not awful as long as the Doctor isn't on the screen, you go, fuck me, this is a good day. Right? It's something along those lines.
As I've always said, I enjoyed some of the last series enormously. On a level almost touching the kind of the best of the stuff that I liked in his original run and Moffat's runs. I liked. I
can't say I enjoyed any of it, even if I was touching myself.
I know.
In ways that I really enjoy.
For me, I loved Space Babies. I really enjoyed The Devil's Cord. I thought I quite enjoyed Boom. Didn't I? Quite enjoyed Boom. I really enjoyed 73 Yards. I loved Dot and Bubble until the last 3 or 4 minutes. And I thought The Legend of Ruby Sunday was out of this world. Fantastic.
There's two expressions I can think of. One is non so queer as folk. Another one, Vive la difference, right? Vive la difference, baby.
But on the other hand, I've got Joy to the World, Empire of Death, both of which were absolutely excruciating. And Rogue, which is one of the worst things I've ever sat through.
I'd rather put my finger up my arse and watch any of those episodes, including the ones you liked. Just nothing. To me, there's no connective tissue, Doctor Who.
But the weak link is unfortunately the biggest one. It's Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah,
I enjoyed him. I was immensely hopeful of him.
Yeah.
When he first appeared in The Giggle, I thought the last 10 minutes of The Giggle with him and David Tennant is absolute dynamite, with the exception of the fact he's doing it in his fucking grunts. Other than that, I thought he was fantastic. And I really did have hope that, God, I have not seen, and more to the point, I have not heard a version of this character quite like this before. I had no idea where he was going to take it. And during the first Christmas special, I found it. I don't know. I just found it a massive letdown. But but in fits and starts in the first series, I thought, he's almost got it. He's almost got it.
See, for me,
now it seems like, and in the Robot Revolution, in many ways, I thought it was the best that he's ever been. Generally speaking, holistically speaking, but I'm not terribly hopeful of him holding that characterization where it is, never mind progressing it. And so therefore, I'm afraid he is going to go down in history as an enormous failure. And it's completely deserved. And I'm not, is he working at the part? I think he's turning up and doing the job. I think he's throwing himself into it in a very physical way. But
look, nobody works more than they have to. And even if it's a job, unless you're working for yourself and it's something you're very passionate, no one works more than they have to. And all he's got to do is wiggle his ass and be gay, right, and black, which he just does, and it does. And then he's
I think we're getting to the point where he believes that's all which is expected of him.
Yeah,
to say the lines in a relatively convincing way,
because that's all that is expected of him. That's literally it. I mean, like
you've got Andy Pryor, and Russell T Davies. And for all accounts, Phil Collinson just egging him on and clapping everything that he does. And rather than that's certainly how it appears. And this is an enormous shame. I think this is a shame in a way that I don't. That the Jodie Whittaker stuff. It was incredibly foolish, and we all knew why from the start.
Made this into the juggernaut they thought it would be. Right? People are crying out for good entertainment nowadays that they remember having 10, 15 years ago. Right? They're crying out for it. And if they just cast somebody with an acting range and wrote scripts to tell stories rather than screaming their agenda.
See, my friend Simon Horton, and I said this last night as well. My friend Simon Horton says that the writing's kind of on the wall for Doctor Who because there's no love left out there for it.
Right.
And it was it's only been this last weekend where I really understood what he meant by that. And he doesn't mean it literally love. I love this show. I love this show.
No, he compared it to the 89 when it was on a genuine upswing, right? Those last 2 years, like the quality of everything.
Well, I actually think that he more meant that people, when you love something or someone in your life, you overlook their flaws, and when they do silly things that piss you off, or they're selfish, or then you let it pass because you love them. They mean the world to you. People don't feel that way about this Doctor Who anymore. If they did, I mean, for example, the kick, the yes Queen kick, that doesn't. I used to be, I quite like David Tennant as the Doctor. I always have, but it used to really annoy me when he used to do something. He used to stick his chin out and go, "Oh yes," like that. That used to really grate on me. And to me, the yes Queen, whoever it is, that's in a similar vein. So it annoys me. I think, really? But once it's gone, it's sort of forgotten about it. It's like, oh, come on, I'm going to live with this. But because I loved the show at the time and loved Doctor Who, everybody loved Doctor Who. Everybody had this love for it. They would indulge it and indulge him. Those excesses. But when you don't have that love, you don't feel that you can permit those kind of indulgences, then you have no love left for it. And so he isn't necessarily doing anything that Tennant wasn't doing there and then, in that it's coming straight from him. But it's playing to this crowd, in an environment that they have cultivated through, just as you say, through circling us and pointing at us as the problem. Then it's completely understandable that it's just too much for people.
But problem being, I would watch practice on a 6-hour loop over the robot revolution. Are you insane?
Oh no, I wouldn't.
Do you have any idea what would happen to you if you did that? Oh my God, they'll be picking out the Thames, mate. Don't do that. Oh,
no, with the exception of Jodie Whittaker's first episode, which I thought was generally all right. I all the others I would never watch them again in a pink fit.
The second one was better than the first one, but yeah, the only time I think that he really worked as a Doctor, with the exception of the gay dance scene, was the Church on Ruby Road. Right, I thought it seemed to be charting a new direction. Nah.
It's funny because that was the one that I was just totally deflated by. I wasn't very impressed with him in that at all. But you and I have had completely different experiences there as well.
I know. Experiences may vary. I think that's what we can walk away from. Okay, removing the rumors that we've all heard about BBC commissioning for a third season, regardless of with Disney or not. Right, forgetting about those for a second. What do you think the chances are for there being a third season?
I'm pretty certain.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, unless let's put it this way, things change all the time.
Right.
I was shocked to see that audience share statistic. Things could change. Obviously, they could change. They may have a massive change of heart. But as I understand it, certainly as of a couple of weeks ago, there was no question at all that the BBC really want to carry on making this, and they're prepared to carry on making this, even alone if they have to. They would just rather do so.
I wonder if they will get another streaming partner. Like, I think Amazon will be the natural place to go to after this. Right, but
well, I believe that Amazon was a shoo-in until a couple of days ago when it was announced that they were. Yeah, well, because
it's gone, and they got rid of the Tomb Raider show. Do you know they paid Phoebe Waller-Bridge $20 million a year since 2020 to write that Tomb Raider show starring Sophie Turner, and it's not happening.
Nice work if you can get it. No, the reason why I'm having second thought, I believed that they would probably go straight to Amazon Prime, simply because Doctor Who Unleashed was on Amazon Prime.
No.
A couple of days ago. So there's a relationship that, and they had that good deal. They took Ripper Street. That worked out very nicely. It's a long time ago, but it worked out very nicely for everybody. But I found out a couple of days ago that Doctor Who Unleashed internationally is up on the Doctor Who YouTube channel instead. I'd be very surprised if it's also on Amazon Prime. I haven't checked, but that would seem to
what they
suggest
could
that it's
do?
not.
They could make it a subscriber YouTube channel internationally. You would have to subscribe to the season.
Well, I think iPlayer, sooner or later the license fee is going to have to go, and iPlayer will have to become
The default BBC.
a BBC that operates internationally as a global streaming platform.
They should be doing it now. They should be doing it now. You should have the entire history of the BBC available at your fingertips. Like, what an incredible educational resource! Just having the news service, right, over the last 80 years, 100, whatever it is, right? Pay $9.99 a month for it, and except for England. In England, it's free. And they would have more revenue than from the license fee, right?
The iPlayer was huge, was revolutionary. A lot of streaming platforms like your Netflix, like your Amazon, learnt a lot from the advances, from the innovations that the BBC brought through with the original iPlayer.
The BBC went free.
They have been sleeping on it for about 10 to 12 years. If they'd have invested, if they'd not have been so afraid of losing their funding model and invested in the iPlayer, they'd probably be streets ahead by now. In fact, they'd probably have got some sort of commission from the Netflixes, those types. Think, okay, well, can we buy these innovations and that would have fed back into the BBC. It's so short-sighted. They pretty much just abandoned it. And now when you go over there, which I don't go over there very often because I watch it down at my brother's, but when I see it, like the interface since I last looked, which was at Christmas, it's changed again. And every time I see it, it's several months apart, it's starting to look more and more like Amazon and Netflix's menus and things. So the BBC's
that's the way they need to go.
But the BBC one used to be the innovator, and they used to be the ones that everybody else would emulate. And now they're chasing the tails of everybody else. It's
sad. But again, listen. My feeling is this: the Doctor Who is one cocktail party away from being cancelled. Right, Doctor Who. One time, anybody on the top floor of the BBC gets any shit about how awful it's doing and gets had the piss taken out of them at a cocktail party. Because the worst thing these people, because they have all the money in the world, the only thing they don't like is embarrassment. Once the wrong person gets embarrassed at the wrong time, and this is the way things get cancelled. Why did Michael Gray cancel Doctor Who in the 80s? Because he was embarrassed by it. Right, more than anything else. And why did El Dorado get cancelled with it? That's the reason they don't admit to anything failing anymore, because the admission of failure is more embarrassing than the actual failure, right? So they don't admit it anymore for some strange and bizarre reason. Anyway, listen, I'm gonna wrap up in it, but again, look, this is why it's important to have fans and friendships with people who don't agree with you on everything. Right, it makes your life richer. Right, it gives you other perspectives to see. It's a good thing.
I mean, I've been talking about Doctor Who publicly now for years and years, since long before I came to YouTube. I didn't come to YouTube to become some sort of culture warrior or to get rich or to do any of these things. I came here to connect with people, to talk about stuff, and to be honest, I do all this under my own name. I haven't got pseudonyms like some people have. I do this all under my own name, and these are my honest opinions. I don't tell lies. If I've enjoyed something, just the same as when I haven't enjoyed something, I don't pull my punches. But if I have enjoyed something, I will be honest about that as well.
My big example of that is The Last of Us season 2. I wanted to hate it, and I was wrong. Right? It was actually a solid piece of TV. So there you go. So listen, if there's anybody out there who liked this shit show,
lots of people did. Lots of people liked it a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
As I found out when I'm in a chat group over on X with a large number of Doctor Who fans. Well, yeah, quite a large number of Doctor Who fans. Certainly more than are in my own community, my Type 40 community. It seems to be a cross section as well. And they asked me what I thought in there, and I put some really quite mild criticism, and I even finished with, I quite enjoyed it, and really I was. Some of them got really angry with me about that.
Again, look, people don't like their reality being denied, right? Because when you say you liked it and somebody didn't, you're denying the thing that they didn't like. If you say you didn't like it when they did, you're denying the reality of the people that did like it for whatever reasons, right? And I think that's where the anger comes from, probably. But what can I say?
We live in strange and intolerant, increasingly tribal times, and it's just games that I won't play. I've always said I'm a podcaster rather than a YouTuber, and so I continue to broadcast my stuff truthfully and with a good heart and with a sense of community. If people have got a problem with that, it's fine. They can go elsewhere, listen to somebody else. I really don't mind one way or the other. But I'm not going to be. But I'm not going to be somebody that I'm not, and I'm not going to pretend I don't like something when I did.
Absolutely. I would never do that, right? Honestly, I would never do that. And we're both still very excited for the James Gunn Superman, right? The James Gunn.
Prime example.
Have you seen it in the stuff he's done with the DC, like Suicide Squad and Peacemaker?
I haven't seen Peacemaker yet. I've treated myself to it on Blu-ray, so I'm going to start that after I finish Reacher.
I just thought, what would Doctor Who be like, run by James Gunn? It's a really interesting question.
I think it's likely that he's a fan. I really like James Gunn. Again, this is another example. Everything about that Superman film looks fantastic, and you've got absolute arseholes all over X still moaning about Henry fucking Cavill.
I do everything I see here, and it's fantastic. Everything I've seen him do, I think, has been fantastic. See, I think that's why I like Peacemaker so much. It wasn't that it's just very funny. It was like he takes these really quite a despicable character and makes you fleshes them out, makes them three-dimensional, makes them sympathetic, right? And all it makes you love the characters, right? He did the same thing with the Creature Commander. You saw Creature Commanders, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, me too. Everything he's done.
Another prime example. The strand with the villains in that, where quite clearly some of them were modelled after people we know. There was one guy who was a spitting image of Gary, and I thought that was unnecessary. And I wouldn't say it was cruel, but I certainly think it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary, and I do think that was beneath Gunn. But again, am I going to let that sour what was a superb animated series?
It was enjoyable, right? The bottom line question you got yourself is: did you enjoy it? I fucking hated it. Don't quite like it. Vive la difference, baby. My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.